I don't know how to pronounce the procedure, today to address pain located in a herniated disc in his lower back. So essentially, he's having back surgery. Sources told our Adrian Wojnarowski that Ben is expected to miss 3 to 4 months, but should be ready to return well before training camp. Brian Windhorst back here with us. But Stephen A., I'm going to start with you. You've questioned the injury at sometimes during this whole process. Does Simmons' surgery news change your perception of him?
Not one bit. Not one bit. Because I never said that I don't believe he's injured at all. What I was trying to say is that I don't believe that whatever ailment he's suffering from is truly what prevented him from contributing 10 to 15 minutes a game. I know that, okay, you're having back surgery, and that's something that you have to deal with. I'm still, Wendy, I'm still at a loss, Wendy. I mean, everybody think I was joking. I'm serious. I mean, what the hell did you do? You hit a pothole on the New Jersey Turnpike? You ain't played since last June 20th. How the hell you got a back injury? I'm still trying to figure that out. What the hell were you doing? I mean, I don't ask personal questions about people's, but I don't care about it. I don't get into it. The exception is Ben Simmons. I really want to know what the hell he was doing. How the hell you got a back injury and you ain't played since last June? You know, and I did bring up, you getting your groove on, you twisted your hip a little bit. I mean, so it's up. I don't know what the hell it is. Back potholes on a turnpike, something. It makes no sense. And so for me, yeah, there's plenty of players that we've seen throughout NBA history that have ended up having to have a procedure on their back. But they played. And then they played and they got injured or whatever. They still tried to play through it. And then obviously they needed a surgical procedure with the offseason. They didn't just sit on the bench for a year and not play 1 second of basketball while filing grievances to get back $20 million in salary. Because, see, I believe that that's what's really at the heart of this matter. See, what happens is this. Let me explain this, Wendy. And again, I'm not saying there was no back injury. I'm not saying that there's some phony procedure going on. They say it's legit. I believe them. What I'm saying is this. You miss all these games. You get traded to Brooklyn. If you played, then that messes up your case with Philly in the grievance, because then it would have been about you just not wanting to play in Philly, as opposed to you really having a mental health issue that prevented you from playing, period. So when that came into question, then we heard about the back. Wendy, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you hear anything about a back before he got to Brooklyn? I didn't hear anything about a back. Did you hear anything about a back?
No, and a fair question has to be asked. I assume that his physical was passed. You know, yes. The Nets, had they seen an injury here that would have been severe enough to need surgery, you'd wonder if they would want to go back to Philly, unless, there's some missing parts of this that we don't quite understand. And he did have a back injury 2 years ago, right before the pandemic. He got shut down. So we knew that there was a back issue, but there's a lot of uncertainty. Also, if the back issue was bothering him last fall, you would think that they would bring that up. So I'm not sure about the timeline, but it certainly is head scratching. And it's this, the unfortunate thing about this is, Stephen A., is that a lot of players don't have one back surgery. They have multiple. And so now of course, that he will rehab and everything, but you get worried about his health on his back going forward after this.
Well, my point is this. The one thing we're not uncertain about at all is that the brother wants his money, and he's going to do everything he can to get his money. We know that about him, okay? So let's get that out of the way. Number two, we're absolutely certain that he has no qualms about expecting his money, even though he didn't play 1 second of basketball. That's number two. Number three, we know that owners, for the next collective bargaining agreement that's coming up, they're going to use him as an example to highlight how these players, some of them, not most, not all, not nearly most of them, 95% of the league don't have this issues. But there's a few stars who have not prioritized playing. And I got news for you. They only need one player to use as an example to make their case come collective bargaining negotiations. Wendy knows this. Woj knows this. I know this. Anybody that covers the sport knows this. Well, they got several examples to point to these players missing games and how they have compromised the collective whole. While Kyrie was sitting there talking about being a martyr, it's tough being a martyr. Let me tell you something right now. Let me see him say that to the player's face when the owners come to the negotiating table and they use him as an example to try to cut the players off at the knees and compromise their bottom line in terms of basketball-related income, using players like that as an example, or demanding, let's have a pay-for-play stipulation in place to ensure that these players don't miss games. You hurting the collective whole. And Ben Simmons, nobody, not Kyrie, not Kawhi, no one has hurt the players' case more than Ben Simmons. Nobody. And so that is the reality of the situation that cannot be ignored. I'm not going to question the legitimacy of the back injury. If it's a back injury, if it's back surgery, that's fine. But I know this, we didn't hear anything about a back when you refused to play in Philly. We heard nothing.
All I know is back injuries are terrible. Guess where I'll be Friday, 5:30? Getting micro-needling.
All right,
at my chiropractor.
Hold on, Molly,
Yes.
hold on.
Sorry.
Since you brought it up, if you were a basketball player with your back injury and you were making more than $30 million and that was in jeopardy, would you have found a way to be on the court?
Well, I have micro tears.
I just asked you a question. I didn't ask for specifics. I said, would you have found a way to be on the court to get your $30 million? Yes or no?
Well, I want $30 million, yeah. So, I mean.
What about you, Wendy? What about you?
But I don't know what his injury is.
You know, it's not my back. I would say that he seemed like he was really wanting to play for the Nets, and then he didn't. So the whole thing, I can't get my arms around it, Stephen A. And this only complicates his situation going forward, quite frankly.
Let me just say one thing, though. The issue with the back, hold on,
octopus
Stephen
couldn't
A.
get their arms around Ben Simmons' situation. An octopus. Go ahead.
Now I have that visual in my mind, so I don't even know what I was going to say.
All right.
So you just screwed me up. Oh, I was going to say it's easy to retweak, though, so you got to be worried about that. Okay, still to come on First Take.
This is a huge moment for basically the rest of LeBron's career and the short term of the Lakers. Whether they offer it to him, whether he accepts it, whether the coach that they hire and the offseason moves that they make him comfortable. But I think there's two things I have to say that are very important here. The first is that LeBron wants to be a Laker. And, you know, regardless of what he may have said in moments of frustration last year, and regardless of his concept of playing with his son or someday retiring a Cavalier or whatever, LeBron wants to be a Laker. He wants to live in Los Angeles. He loves living in Los Angeles. His son, Bronny, is a senior at Sierra Canyon in the Valley this year. He wants to be able to take part and enjoy his senior season. He still believes he can take the Lakers to heights. He wants to be a Laker. The second thing is that while it would be fun and is fun, and we will probably have these conversations now or later to talk about what team could want to trade for LeBron, LeBron isn't getting traded to a team unless LeBron deems it so. I know he's under contract. He doesn't have a no-trade clause, and they could trade him anywhere. And by the terms of his contract, he could have to go. But you can't do that to a player of this ilk. You can't do that to a player of his stature and status. So I don't see the fertile ground for that. Although Stephen A's points that he made yesterday, and I'm sure he's about to make now, about where the Lakers are as a team with LeBron, those are all still valid. But you have the fact of LeBron's, persona and control of this situation, that can't be ignored, Stephen A.
I'm one of those guys that the hardest part about sitting in this chair, Wendy, and I'm not saying that you just did it because you did not. I get misquoted and taken out of context all the time. I have no problem.
You get lied
with
about
anybody. Well, I get lied about every day, and that's fine. Those
I just
people,
wanted to point that